Ladies and gentlemen, it is the bewitching hour, so I proudly call this meeting to order, and I kindly ask for the roll call to be taken.
Anderson. Bartlett.
Here.
Davist.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Shepro.
Here.
Burns.
Present.
You have a quorum.
We have a quorum, folks. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the June 9, 2021 meeting. All of you received those minutes electronically. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move. I move to approve.
Motion to approve has been made,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Pierce. Any questions or comments? Voice vote is sufficient, but what does the chair prefer?
Voice vote is fine.
Voice vote's fine. All in favor of approving the minutes of June 9, 2021, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, please say nay. The minutes are approved, ladies and gentlemen. Public comment, item 4. I don't believe there's anyone online. I don't see anyone present. Let the record show that Mr. Anderson has just arrived. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Nobody online, sir? Okay.
We thought you were joining online. You're here.
Item 5, new and unfinished business. Is there any new business anyone would like to bring up? Mr. Shepro, sir.
Mr. Chairman and colleagues, in reviewing the 3 draft maps that were presented to the task force last week, and having talked to some of the applicants, it would appear that, among other things, virtually no portion of the proposed new District 13 remains in Geneva Township. And I believe at least two of the people we are going to interview live in Geneva Township. And that is a concern to me as to how we deal with that.
Well, these again are draft maps, and we realize that 2 of the 3 people that we're going to be interviewing indeed do not live in the district, as any of those drafts are. So that certainly can be changed. These are drafts of the maps. They're not set in stone, so that will be augmented.
Well,
So problem has been, but they currently live in the district.
They currently live in the district, but in the context of what is likely to be the case, because what the circumstances were, as I understand these maps, is that the effort was made along the river where the towns and the populations are matured to coincide as much as possible the new districts with municipal boundaries. And so the advisability or likelihood of changing this district to include part of St. Charles, when by design it now includes nothing but, it has right now it has a bunch of Geneva in it, and a bunch of the Geneva is going to go into District 11 under the new method. So it would be, at least as I interpret it, we'd be contra to the intention of the drafting to assume that we could change districts to accommodate applicants. And the other thing, it just seems that that's putting the cart before the horse. I mean, first we need to determine what district we're going to be dealing with to be real, and then deal with applicants. But I don't want to be changing districts to accommodate applicants.
Well, there has been no, and to your point, there has been no district set yet. The district that we know of is the district that we're dealing with right now. And all of these applicants live within that district, the existing district. And we can all agree with that. They all do.
But then we're asking someone to be appointed who, in 2 of the cases, can't even run for the office when they're done. They're nothing but a placeholder for 15 months.
Well, we just discovered this.
I'm not saying we've done anything wrong. I'm
No.
just saying that having both of these activities
I
at the same
believe-
time creates the awkward circumstance where we could be appointing somebody who is unqualified to run for the next.
I believe one district, one individual lives block or two away from the designed line right now. It's very close to it. So I haven't taken a look at, because I've been in meetings all day, to exactly pinpoint where they are with the existing district or
Well,
within the new
and to
district.
that point, another problem is I don't have a decent map to look at that has
The maps are up online.
detail. Well, I haven't received it yet, but
Oh, no, they're literally there. They're up online right now. It says they're
All right.
going to be
They
on
must have
Wednesday.
gone up today
Today,
sometime.
today, yeah,
okay.
they went up
I was going
today.
to say, as of this morning, I didn't have one available that had any kind of decent resolution or an overlay of,
Oh, no.
of townships or
They're up there now. They're up there now.
municipalities or anything.
I got a confirmation because I was asking at about 10, little after 10 o'clock, I spoke with Mr. Fonstock and he said, yes, they'll be up. And then he confirmed with me that they are up.
Okay.
Is it appropriate or inappropriate to say, let's get a copy of it?
Well, let me ask Mr. Anderson first to make his comments. He had his hand up. And
Yeah,
then
sorry, Steve.
No problem at all. Thank you. So I guess two comments. One is the qualifications that we put out for filling the spot where you're 18, you're a Republican, and you live in the current district. If we're going to take into account some future district, then it would seem that we would need to change the entire concept, because then wouldn't you also say you'd want to open it up to people who live in the new district? I don't even think that's statutorily possible. So we're really narrowing the scope of who could possibly be the member. So that concerns me to take this into account. The second point that I would bring up is there is no guarantee that someone who fills this spot is going to run. You know, I don't think that we're asking that question, or I certainly would not. And there's no guarantee what will happen in 15 or 18 months. People may decide today they're definitely running, get on the board, discover they don't enjoy it, don't feel like it's the right thing, and decide not to run. I think we should be filling the position based on the maps that exist today. That's my point. Thank you, sir.
thank you, sir. Mr. Martin? If I could, I don't know if your microphone's on or not, John, but
We've kind of discussed around the concept that one of the things that we're seeking is to have someone that we as board members anticipate will be a good board member. We can, well, I don't know. I mean, I've made my point. The point is that we realistically, we could appoint somebody who is not entitled to run. And so we're not really appointing a board member, we're appointing a placeholder in that context, because there will be a district chosen. And I will not at least support bending a district to accommodate the residency of a appointee. I think that the districts ought to be established on a long-term basis, addressing the potential of issues and fairness and representation and likeness of communities and all of that stuff. And that doesn't mean I want to move it a block to accommodate the fact that somebody that we appointed to this position lives a block outside of the.
If you're directing that at me, John, I don't have any opinions about moving maps. I'm not here to decide maps. I'm only here to fulfill one role, which
Well,
is to
and-
pick a person.
And you aren't, but we have to do both.
I understand that,
So
but my
we have
role as a member of this committee,
I understand
is
you
to
have
pick.
one perspective, and I understand your perspective and what you regard your marching orders to be. I'm just saying that as board members and as the board to vote on this, I think we're in a different position. We're trying to, we have to realistically look at two things. In my opinion, if we don't, we don't, but.
But the map, let's talk more about maps. One, you've been presented with three drafts of, this is the very first draft of a map, 3 drafts, none of which have been approved by the reapportionment task force to go forward. It has been asked by all board members, all 24 and members of the task force, to give your comments. In a memo that was sent out to you earlier this week, I mentioned that the maps are going to be available on today. Indeed, to the best of my knowledge, they are up online for you to take a look at by precinct, by street, online today. So we're waiting for all input to come in from the 24 board members and the reapportionment task force members to give comment on how these maps are to be looked. So these are truly drafts of maps. It is not the map. Neither one of those three are the maps. We do know that the voting rights districts have to remain pretty much intact by law. We want to make sure that we're following federal mandate on that. And that's my understanding. But there can be room for some adjustment appropriately. The other thing has come to mind is that I know that there are two state representatives who, and I'm not going to talk about politics, but they just happen to be in the same district. We're drawn in the same district in Kane County. State law allows the incumbent, if the incumbent is a resident of their current district that has been redrawn, they have full ability to run in that district and they don't have to move back into that district. I think we'd have to talk to the state's attorney to make sure that may not be the case or could be the case as for the county board.
I've read the bill, which has not yet been signed by the governor,
That's
I
correct.
understand. Or he was maybe going to do it today, I think we learned at legislative committee. There's no such provision that relates to county board members.
Ms. Pierce, do you have any comments you'd like to add regarding this organic discussion?
Nothing
Okay.
that hasn't been said.
Megan?
You may choose the candidate
Ms. Berger?
who lives in the district.
Right. No, I agree with Mr. Anderson. I think we're here for one task, not to decide what maps are, but to pick somebody who is capable and willing to serve further time.
Anyone else on this matter?
Well, I just think it's, to Mr. Martin's point, for us to proceed as if these new maps don't exist, I think is a disservice to the applicants. I think it is, frankly, makes a mockery of the process. You know, the people who seem to want to move ahead arguably don't really have a big interest in having a good Republican chosen. I'm sorry to say that, but you know, just looking at the comments from last time, you know, one member of this committee not only didn't like any of the applicants except one, didn't even like the people that gave them references, who happened to be very well-known and distinguished members of the General Assembly. I don't know that I have a solution at this point, but the idea that we would be appointing someone to be a placeholder in a district that will be radically different in 15 months is, I don't think that's the right way to proceed if we're acting in good faith. I mean, I agree that these maps could be changed, but every one of the three versions does, frankly, what a number of us wanted to do, which is to let Geneva have Geneva representation and St. Charles representation. You know, as you know, the current map is half and half, and I didn't find anybody who seemed to think that was really a good idea. You know, given what I think was everybody's sentiment that we ought to try to conform to existing municipal boundaries. So I don't have a problem with the concept of what these maps do. It's really the impact and what do you do with the people who were invited to apply based upon the old map.
May I interject for just a moment, then I'll recognize Madam Chair. Is it a safe assumption that the three candidates selected to interview today may very well have also examined this issue? Or is this, you think, a surprise to them as well?
Well, I think that at least two of them are aware of it because they called me like, what happens next? But
Sure.
that was the extent of the discussion. So they may have something to say about it. I don't know.
Madam Chair?
So here's my question. We have three people that we've selected to be interviewed based on the current map. The map will not come to the vote to the full board for their approval October or November of this year with using the census data. So provisional map will be presented. Once we get the census data, it'll be adjusted accordingly if need be, and then presented to the full board for their vote. Do we not move ahead and select a representative based on the current information we have on using the current map because they are in that residence? Or is it your thought that you would like to suspend this search, keeping that position open until we have the new map drawn where we have the exact addresses? Because I don't know, I can't look forward, but I know what we have right now.
Oh, your point is well taken, and I don't want to have the position open. I think it distorts the board's process to not have a full membership. I think at a minimum, we should at least let the applicants know where they live and what they're doing, because I'm going to guess that not one of the applicants is making this effort thinking that this is going to be a 15-month deal and then I'm done. And they ought to be advised, the people that we're interviewing at least ought to be advised as to where things stand right now so that they know what is going on. I don't know who knows what. I haven't talked to applicants. I just don't think it's appropriate to do it.
Maybe this was what Chairman Burns was alluding to, but I think I would at least like to hear what the applicants have to say about this, if anything. And maybe that would be a starting point.
It ought to be one of our questions.
Yeah.
No question, I think it should be a statement made.
Yeah.
And it may be a problem without a cure. I'm not, your point is well taken about the delay and what we have now. And I understand that we have limitations. But I do believe that the likelihood is that what we've seen is a draft of the north end of District 11 versus the south end of District 13, meaning 11 containing Geneva and 13 not. It ought to be something understood by the applicants as they come in. I don't know where do the people that we're interviewing today, are they all within the?
They are all within the current boundaries of District 13.
Are that if we were to guess, where are they as it relates to the proposed district lines?
Where, I'm sorry?
As to the proposed district lines, the draft lines, are they all three within that?
One candidate lives clearly in the current district as well as any of the proposed new districts.
Literally just north of the township line. Yes.
One does.
Yes, and the other two, I believe, are in Mill Creek or otherwise not in
None of them.
within St. Charles Township, which is now the southern boundary of the three versions of the proposed district.
Well,
Some of them may not be too far from there.
they're just going to have to be told.
Yeah, I think it's a valid question to ask, and depending on the reaction.
Now, I understood that when some of the comments were received, that there was then going to be a redraw potentially that would be done in the next, before the next task force meeting. And that at least a preliminary plan, whatever we want to call it, was going to be proposed for the July 13th board. And while obviously that could be changed, I think all the legal language we were using were words like tweak or, change, fix around the edges as new information became available.
Correct.
So, maybe we see what they have to say, but I wonder if at this point, I also would like to have somebody seated at the July 13th meeting. I think everybody would. But there still may be time to conduct the interviews based on whatever adjustments are proposed by next week. That doesn't mean we couldn't interview them today, but we might want to have another crack at it. And I suppose the other question would be, would we open up the process to anybody who would be in the new district, but not in the old one?
Well, that's the conundrum. We
Well,
can't.
that's a legal question there, is whether a person not in the district could be appointed to the district position.
Well, the new district doesn't exist.
But it
Correct.
doesn't-
But based
Well,
on,
that's not a
based
legal
on-
question. You couldn't be appointed, but you could gauge interest.
well, aren't we here to pick somebody to be appointed?
Well,
Yes or no?
Your point, I don't.
Ladies and
it
gentlemen,
seems like
I'm going to
we're-
recognize Ms. Bartlett, and then I'm going to recognize Ms. Pierce.
I mean, you guys just got exactly to what I was questioning. So if we're going to go with what the new maps are, then I feel like we need to open it up to whoever would live in those new maps. But if that's a legality issue, then how can we move forward?
They've not been approved yet.
We're stuck. If we don't have a legal, I mean, you have to be a resident of the district.
Right, the current district.
District, the current
We have one
district.
district today, and
You're
I
gonna-
don't like your point, but I tend to agree with it. We have to move ahead. I do think that the people that we're interviewing, my thought is we have to move ahead, but the people that we're interviewing need to know because the likelihood is, I mean, when you get my comments, I'm going to like the proposal, because I think one of these proposals, because there's logic attached to it. You know, Batavia's got a representative, Geneva's got a representative, St. Charles has got a representative. And for the last 10 years, these districts have kind of meandered in and out of the Tri-Cities in ways that don't make a lot of sense. I mean, I have in District 11, as the chairman well knows, I have a peculiar subdivision south of Main Street that wraps around District 10. Why in God's name was that ever decided to make any sense? And so I can tell you that the comments that are going to be received from the people that now represent those districts are going to be that they're happy. I think that the discussion is going to be what happens west of Randall Road. You know, we've got that's where all the population growth is. That's where there's the most change, and you know, and people have more to talk about.
Ms. Pierce?
As someone who lives in the district, I do want to be represented and not have that paused for a while. The other thing, though, is that I'm concerned about the recommendation that a district might be gerrymandered to accommodate whoever is appointed.
Yeah, I would.
Mr. Davis, sir?
Yeah.
Then I'll recognize John.
You know, we've convened, we're all here. We've asked the three candidates to be here to be interviewed, and I think there's value in that. I would not rush to a judgment for any final recommendation today. I still haven't actually had a chance to review the three versions of the map myself. And I think we owe it to ourselves to do that now that it's available. And as we look at those, and there's imminent action that's already been referred to, we will begin to get a clearer picture. We will have a chance to ask the candidates today their thoughts and feelings about the idea that they would be potentially appointed as a placeholder, if you will, because they would fall outside of it. And I guess we should probably consider the idea that if, as we move forward and see the maps and perhaps even open this to, other candidates, it's possible that there's somebody that would fit the criteria of both being in the existing one now and in one of the new ones. So there could be somebody else out there still.
You have one. Well, you have one of the three.
Yes, we do.
candidates.
I'm just saying,
but we also
There could-
winnowed the list. And
There
I
could be
might have
others that we don't
voted
know yet.
differently to winnow the list if I knew that two of them would not be in potentially the new district.
So when the demographer was
Just
drawing,
to add a note of levity, I understand that Mr. Hoshite has now moved into the district, having sold his house
he sold
on
his
the
house
other
very
side of
nice.
the river.
That's
And
lovely.
he is definitely not interested. in that.
I was gonna say, I don't think so. Just so you know, and It's not gerrymandering.
Okay.
That anybody who is an incumbent in the district that they represent are drawn into that district. This individual would be considered an incumbent drawing into the new district. They are appointed representing the old district, which they live in currently. The new district, whatever that looks like, that individual is still a representative of the new 11, 12, 13, whatever district it may be. So they would be in that district.
Potentially.
Well, they're an.
I mean, you're right. That
they're
is
an
what,
incumbent.
that is
It
the
is-
philosophy.
It is a consideration that the reapportionment task force has agreed upon.
And
That
there
was
is
one of our-
precedent to that sort of drawing of the
There
district.
was one of the rules of the road. We're not going to draw, we said that intentionally, we were not going to draw incumbents out of their district. And everyone agreed to that. It makes common sense.
We do have a candidate who is waiting for us in the hallway. It
I
is
would
approximately
suggest that
30.
we proceed as has been suggested and see what, if they know about what's going on. And
Absolutely.
if they have a reaction to it.
We are assigned 30 minutes per candidate.
And I believe is
Sort of
it our
a minute?
intention to go into closed session for that purpose?
That's correct.
And if so, then I would move that we go into closed session for the purpose of considering the appointment of a person to fill a vacancy on the King County Board, District 13.
Mr.
I'll-
Shepro makes a motion so stated.
I'll
There's a
second.
second by Mr. Davist. Any questions or comments regarding that motion? A roll call vote would be in order.
Anderson.
Aye.
Bartlett. Davist.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Shepro.
Yes.
Aye. The chair will entertain a motion to return to open session.
We did.
Oh, forgive me. Forgive me. A roll call
Right on.
vote to open session.
Anderson.
Yes.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Davist.
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Shepro.
Yes.
Burns.
Yes. Madam Chair, are you comfortable with the recommendation we have shared with you?
Indeed, I am.
Are there any questions or comments from anyone on the task force prior to adjourning this meeting?
Just that, given the diversity of this group, I'm very impressed with the comments and questions that we had today, and even more so that we were unanimous.
It's a pleasure serving with all of you.
Oh, and I would like to commend and thank all of you for taking time out of your day to review the candidates, to give me good counsel and advice so I can bring a strong candidate to the King County Board for their consensus. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Shepro, seconded by Ms. Bartlett. Roll call vote, please.
Nope.
We can do voice vote
You
for
guys
that.
are, it's so different from the muni level, man. The muni level, we do everything like by the book. Voice vote, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say, let's go to